Let's go. Okay, welcome everyone. I will take a motion to approve the minutes of January 3rd, 2023.
So
Move
moved.
approval.
Second.
All in favor? Appointments, recognitions, and resignations. Request appointment of Sarah Adelberg as a full-time firefighter EMT at an initial rate of $26.75 to be increased to $28.24 upon successful completion of a 6-month probationary period, effective date of January 18, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Yep. Request appointment of William Shepherd as part-time firefighter at a rate of $18 an hour, effective date January 18, 2023.
Move appointment.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Request appointment of Megan Bailey to the Warrant Committee, effective January 17, 2023.
Move appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Request appointment of James Blaine to the Warrant Committee, effective January 17th, 2023.
Move appointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Request appointment of Wendy Todd to the Economic Development Committee, effective January 17, 2023.
Can we do motion or?
She's not she lives in the town of Cranberry Isles, doesn't she?
Yes.
So she can be on the committee, but she can't be a voting member. Right.
So
That was my question too. I mean, so she is sort of the liaison between the Chamber of Commerce, so she's, okay.
But she'd be a non-voting member. Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
So
Move
is this the
appointment.
right form for her?
I think it's as good as we have. Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it works as well as any.
Yeah, motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Request appointment of Megan Bailey to the Comprehensive Planning Committee.
Can I make have a question about that? I thought that we made a suggestion, I don't know how far the discussion went, that we were gonna hold off on accepting any of the applications for this committee until we had a pool, so that we don't just sort of take anybody that applies. She sounds like a terrific candidate, but my personal preference is that this committee not become unwieldy, and that we, wait until we have a pool of candidates to make sure, like you mentioned, Derlin, that we have representation from the different parts of the town.
Whatever process you want to use.
I agree with Jeff on that.
So I mean, without telling.
But let's
Ms.
put her on
Bailey-
the list. And
Yeah.
she sounds very good.
Absolutely. I mean, she sounds really ideal, but I don't want her to think we don't approve of her candidacy, but I'd rather wait.
Yeah, which is you're collecting, in your minutes should reflect that you're collecting a pool of candidates and seeking geographic balance, et cetera, and you will be defining appointments. So we want to try to gin up as much interest as we can.
Yes.
Right off the bat, so we can get this going in a month or two. So, but I think that's a good point.
So what do we need to do?
I would move item F be amended to state that the board will accept the application of Megan Bailey to the Comprehensive Planning Committee for a potential appointment at a later date.
Second that.
All in favor? Great. All right, item G, appointment of a BOS member as liaison to the Broadband Committee.
You don't have one. Matt.
Look at me. I know nothing.
And that's, I don't either.
Matt was so good.
When do they meet? How often?
Once a month, it's, can't remember which day, it's either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
Oh,
Those are 3 nights. I can go back and look at my calendar.
Yeah, I can do that one.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
So do we
Do we
need
need
to
a
move
move?
John as a member, as a liaison to the broadband committee? I
I do.
move that.
Second.
With thanks.
Yeah.
All in favor? Consent agenda. Thank you letter from Great Cranberry Fire Department and the Islesford Volunteer Fire Department dated January 4th, 2023. Item B, Hancock County Commissioners Special Meeting Minutes from December 20, 2022. And C, municipal solid waste will continue bypassing PERC.
I would move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
Only that the thank you letter from the Great Cranberry Fire Department, I think emphasizes and shows how much value there is in mutual aid. And that we should be proud of the fact that we participate in that as well.
Yeah,
I agree.
certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
What a nice letter.
That was a wonderful letter.
Was very nice.
It's my son.
Get that?
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. Great, all in favor? Terrific. Selectmen's reports, any reports?
I'm just wondering if I can have clarification. At the last meeting, we talked about the streetlight on Pine and Sylvan. And was it to get one or remove one?
Pine and Sylvan was to take a look at that particular light and come up with recommendations of whether it should stay where it is, be removed or moved, and so should have something for the next meeting.
Because there is no light on Pine and Sylvan.
The police, I think, are gonna have a recommendation.
Okay, I just, and was very
There were,
confused.
some of the neighbors were concerned about it and very concerned because it's shining right in their house. So we brought it up.
Yep.
And discussed, you weren't.
Yeah, I was here.
Oh, okay. Well, I checked in with them to make the people who had complained to see if there was any progress, and they said there was something in the works.
Okay,
But
I
they're-
just
they're
talked
having
to
a
all the
conversation.
neighbors,
Yeah.
which I happen to be one of, and everybody, except for one person who I don't see, loves that light and would be happy to have another one. That's how dark Sylvan Road is. So I just was confused because,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Stanley Lane. You're talking about the one on Pine. There's one complaint about that.
and that was to remove or move or whatever.
Or shutter or something, you know,
Okay.
a shade or
They are
something. Yeah.
working on that.
Okay.
They're working on
All
it.
the folks.
Okay,
They'll
thank
have
you.
recommendations.
I just was,
Next
Yeah.
meeting.
okay, perfect. Clarification.
Okay. Unfinished business. Island Explorer Memorandum of Understanding Presentation and Review.
All is up on the board.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Paul.
Paul?
So, most of us know each other. Happy New Year. And, as always, well, for those who might not know me, I'm Paul Murphy, Executive Director of Down East Transportation. We're the private nonprofit corporation that operates the Island Explorer seasonal public transit system. We want to extend our thanks to the town of Mount Desert for your long-standing and consistent support of the Island Explorer project. Our request this year is the same as it's been for many years, $14,000. We've signed the memorandum of understanding and returned it. We did have some, I think concerns would be too strong a word, but we wanted our attorneys to take a look at it before we signed it because we don't have any other MOUs with any other municipalities or funding organizations or funding entities. We were unable to get that done. As it turns out, our attorney is also your attorney. And so they had a conflict in terms of looking at it. And there wasn't time to get a referral and get it to someone else. So we went ahead and signed it. But just to let you know what our questions are, the MOU reads to us more like a purchase agreement than memorandum of understanding. It talks about goods and services and your contribution in exchange for those goods and services. And that's not how we view the relationship. We see your contribution as match, partial match to grants that we receive to operate Island Explorer, and not a sale to the town. The service we provide to the town, or provide to and from the town, operates at an expense of over $100,000. And so if we were, at any rate, the language just didn't seem to fit perfectly. But, you know, given our long-standing relationship, we figured we'd move ahead and we'd maybe have a bite at the apple next year in terms of looking at alternative language.
Okay. Well, good. I mean, really, it's an effort on our part to make the process easier. And the language is something I guess the lawyers can fool with, but
Yeah.
Well, you're also drafted this, so.
Mac, I very much, and probably should have led with that. I very much recognize the effort to make the process easier when we deal with some other towns in the same way, and we appreciate that.
And we appreciate
We-
the service you provide to our town and our visitors
yeah.
very much.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. We value the partnership.
Okay, great.
Thank you,
Well,
Paul.
thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
That's it? No questions?
Not really.
Could you come up with a few? No, I'm kidding. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, Murphy.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Item B. Neighborhood House Memorandum of Understanding Presentation and Review.
Hi.
Hi, Emery.
Hey, Marie.
So this is a very old movie we've seen for decades now. So we're actually thrilled to be included as sort of part of the general part of the town budget. I think it makes perfect sense because we've served as the Municipal Parks and Recreation Department, in quotes, for years and years and years. And I think it makes sense. So you've seen the memorandum of understanding. So we're asking for the same amount, the 88,000 that we've received for 15 years. This will be the 16th year that we're doing it. Our budget is about $740,000. So we're essentially saying, if you give us 12% of that, we will most enthusiastically serve as your Parks and Rec department and all those services that would typically be included in a larger municipality.
Great. Thank you.
One quick
Okay.
plug, Community Cafe, Thursday, chicken parmesan, garlic bread, Caesar salad, and an apple Bismarck.
Awesome. I see that.
And I would just say, Anne Marie, like, again, we are grateful. I mean, I went to recreation many, many, many years ago, and you know, my kids did, and hopefully my grandchild will. And I just think we are grateful and blessed to have an organization like this that serves our community in so many ways. And you know, the community cafe, even the someone picks it up and delivers it to my mom, like little things like that make a difference. So thank you.
That's why we're the neighborhood house. Thank you, Wendy.
All right. Any other comments? All right, Northeast Harbor Library Memorandum of Understanding Presentation and Review.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm just getting over a cold, so I apologize. I'm losing my voice. My name is Amy Weishart. I'm the director of the Northeast Harbor Library. Thank you for having me. For those of you who haven't met yet, I'm really enjoying getting to know the community. I've been here since May. So I jumped right into the busy season, and now I'm taking a little time to get to know the community. I have a winter rental right here in town, so it's really nice to kind of integrate and get to know people. And I also appreciate that you're including us in the memorandum of understanding. I think it does make sense. And we're really happy to serve the town and really all the surrounding communities are really in town. And we are busy year round, and throughout COVID, we've offered a wide array of services. So I'm kind of continuing Ellie's legacy of providing as many services as we can. And also looking to the future. So we are planning a strategic plan this year. We're going to get that started a little bit later this year, and I hopefully will be able to come back to you and get some feedback and some input about what the community is looking for from the library. I'll also just mention too, we are requesting a slight increase for 2023 of 25,000. Previously, I think it's been at 20,500 for many years, at least 10 years, maybe even longer. And part of that, certainly I'm open to having a conversation about the funding amount, but our budget for 2023 is going up about 10%, and a lot of that is inflationary. So staffing costs, material costs, including books, heating costs. So we're just feeling that pressure. Our endowment is a little less stable than it used to be, as many organizations are finding. So again, we really appreciate the partnership with the town. We also function, as you probably know, as the school library, and that's been a really flourishing partnership. So we really appreciate it. So happy to answer questions.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and thank you.
Thanks.
Right. And item D, Soamesville Library Memorandum of Understanding, presentation and review.
Anyone? I'm Steve Anastasia. I'm the treasurer for the Soamesville Library, one of the board members as such. And we're requesting $12,000 as part of a memorandum of understanding. We previously requested $11,000 through the town support process, and we're really excited about the new memorandum of understanding. We serve somewhere around 500 year-round residents and another 250 or so summer residents, as well as visitors, summer visitors who come in off the street to use the services of the library. We also have a new librarian this year, and she comes with a wide variety of skills that are really going to benefit the library quite a bit, including augmenting our outreach programs and our offerings to increase visitation inside the library. Any questions that you guys have?
What are your hours?
The hours right now are 2 days a week. We are open on Saturdays and on Wednesdays, and then typically we have summer hours on Mondays also. It fluctuates with the seasonality of things.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Steve.
Right. And on to unfinished business. Continued, item E. Authorize town manager Darrell Lamont to sign contractor service agreement with a Climate to Thrive for services in support of the state of Maine Community Action Grant to implement the town's climate emergency plan.
Excuse me, did we just steal Harbor Library?
We're still having some issues locating.
Oh,
the
okay,
contact person.
sorry, excuse me.
So we will get them back at a later date.
I would move authorization under E.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Item F, accept community support grant from the state of Maine in the amount of $29,025. Such funds to be used in support of the town of Mount Everett Climate Action Plan. Further authorize town manager Darrell Lamont to sign the grant approval documents.
Move acceptance and authorization.
Second,
All in favor? Awesome.
you're done.
Discussion of proposed code of conduct and ethics policy for the town of Mount Desert.
Nick Zach Harris, who was instrumental in putting this together on Zoom tonight, so we can Answer any questions you may have. Coming in now.
Yep, and I'm on the call if there are questions regarding the policy, just wanted to shout it out.
Yeah. I had a question on number 11. I know we just pop in questions whenever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Members will not appear before the board or any board or committee of the town on behalf of the private interests of third parties. That sounded pretty broad and like would mean that somebody on the Shellfish Committee could not come to the Board of Selectmen and pitch an idea for something. And
We had a couple of other questions, and Zach, I think you can answer that pretty much. I think we cleared that pretty much up. You can give them what the intent is, and if you would.
Yeah, we had some questions come up prior to the meeting regarding section 11 and it's meant to address financial interest. And maybe that would need to be amended to include that, to maybe clear up the language. It's gray intentionally, and vague intentionally. But if we would like to clear up section 11, it is something that can be cleared up. There were concerns that came forward, but it is meant to address financial interest of third parties that do not have the best interest of the town or its citizens in mind.
For instance, just back, not to pick on the Economic Development Committee, but even as a non-voting member, the person we just appointed to be part of is by definition representing the economic interests of third parties as the Chamber of Commerce representative to that committee, are they not?
I would agree with that.
So I mean, that's that. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with it. I just think we're gonna have, that's a lot of.
It's a lot of gray.
That's a lot of gray, and that would mean that the person we just appointed could basically not even really pitch anything.
Zach, do you think we degrade that and bring it back?
We could degray it. I will say, if we go to page 9 of the policy, we do have a disclosure statement where if a member was participating on the committee and basically they would disclose their interest, prior to participating in the committee. But let's go ahead and gray it because it is a repeated concern that's come up, and we can bring it back.
Thank you.
Is there any other one, before we bring it back for a second time, let's make sure that there are no other issues there so we can clean everything up at once.
I didn't have any.
I have another question on item 16. And I think I brought this up the last time we had a brief discussion about this. And I would recommend that we not just have new members of committees vow to follow the code of ethics. I think it should be annual or some other periodic. I mean, for everyone, it's kind of important that people be reminded. I know that some of them will not read it again and some of them will not. I mean, I know how that is. I'm on boards and committees, but I think to have an actual affirmation annually for boards and committees of this town would certainly, at least for some, remind them of what they promised.
Would it, excuse me. Since these committees have all had terms of service, would it not make more sense to have them sign it when if they were reappointed? Continue that, if they're signing that for their term of service, and then if they should be reappointed to a second term, whatever, that they would reaffirm that. I think to me, annually is a bit too much, but I can see where you might want to do it for their 3-year term or whatever. I think that'd be more standards and having to go back and do every committee.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't want to understate the importance of what we're trying to do. I mean, I heard the former guy, fellow colleague talking about having to every 2 years literally go to a training. As part of, I'm not expecting that. I know that new school board members are offered the opportunity to go to an ethics training and a board member training, and I don't, nobody wants to make anybody do anything because we have trouble getting volunteers to begin with, but I think that if we play down just having people sign off every 3 years, we're playing down the importance of the policy.
It'll be up to you guys. I mean, that was a suggestion, but that's
Yep.
certainly, I'm happy with whatever you guys decide to do. We'll figure it out.
I don't think it's a big deal to ask people to review it once a year. I mean, I think it makes sense.
And in deference to what Darrellin was saying at the inception of appointment to another term, sign that you have read and understand, not just yup,
Yeah.
you know, you have reviewed it, you've read it, you know what's in it, and you're accountable for it.
And I think that's important, as, you know, older members may not, you know, just a phone call saying, do you still want to be on this committee might not be as much as it's serious work, and we are taking it serious, and we do want to take it serious. So, I mean, we vote them in each year, we vote that slate of people in, so I
That
don't
doesn't
think it's.
require though an amendment to our policy, does it now? That would just be a way of making sure that it is still enforced. We have to rewrite anything on, do we have?
I think not, if we're okay with every term.
No, I mean, even if you want to do it every year, I don't think you necessarily have to rewrite that particular part of it. I'm just trying to get at stuff we need to rewrite before we come back.
Okay.
If you want to vote, make sure that's done every year, we can obviously do that.
I have a question. I was just zooming in on the Luso committee meeting, not to pick on any particular committee, but that is a committee where the subject of conflict of interest has come up in the past. And it was, one of the remarks was made at the meeting, well, we have some expertise in this field, we ought to be able to discuss it. According to the code of ethics that we're looking at, that it's perfectly all right if you disclose your personal interest to then be part of the discussion. But the barrier is on voting. Is that correct?
Right.
So even then, it was brought up at this meeting, if I'm getting it right, someone said, well, this is just an advisory committee. It's not a policy setting committee, but all the committees really are advisory. They come up with suggestions that come to the board and then go to the town
There
meeting.
is a different standard.
So how does that work?
Well, for example, like a zoning board of appeals, a planning board, or Harvard committee actually are voting committees.
Yeah,
They do vote. The Luso committee and many others, the economic development committee, they don't vote. The broadband committee doesn't vote. What it tries to do is to go to the board of selectmen with a consensus of, here's what we think that you might want to consider, but it doesn't come up there with a formal vote on it. So I think there is a difference between those statutory committees and these advisory committees, which are ad hoc. You can eliminate any of those committees at your discretion, and you can eliminate the planning board, for example.
Right, I see.
That's a statement. So I think we need to draw some sort of a distinction, because otherwise, I don't think you're gonna get anybody.
nobody would be able to serve on
Yeah,
anything.
and you're going to also lose, I think, some of the expertise of those folks.
Right.
So
It's
you
like-
can, you know,
Yeah.
as long as they disclose, if they come up to you and there's a consensus coming up, you then can judge for yourselves whether you think that their advice is in good faith, or is it
Okay.
trying to engender, that, you've got the power right there to do it.
Okay, that
But
makes
you can't
sense.
overrule the planning board vote.
Right.
There's a very big
I see.
difference there.
Okay.
I mean, it's just like the broadband. I mean, I
Right.
know nothing, so I don't really,
Right.
you know, but, you know, financial
But
stuff,
what
I
the
know a little
broadband
more, so I don't mind
committee would do is
serving.
Bring
on
you
those.
studies.
Right.
Bring you these things.
Right.
Say, this sounds promising, what do you think? But they're not gonna come to you and say, we want you to install fiber to the home in every house, and say, here's, if you want to do that, here's the advantages, here's the cons, here's the price, what do you say?
I see,
So it's coming with a very different standard.
I see.
And I do think this policy gives a little flexibility. I mean, we're looking honesty and respect, and like, I think it's covered a lot, other than that couple of little tiny, gray areas. It's good to have it a little bit, so we don't wanna,
We can
turn
clean up
people away.
Jeff's concerns without weakening the policy.
Oh,
you could
absolutely.
even just add, if it's financial, you could even just say on behalf of the financial interests of third parties, if that's really what it's,
Are we talking about item 16 still?
no, 11.
11.
You're on 11.
It's a good discussion.
But 16 isn't,
I mean, 16 could be solved with one word that says, we'll sign annually a statement affirming that they understand and will uphold the tenets of the code. One word.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll, that, and that puts in what Rick said, they're not just signing it, they're signing an affirming statement that says they've read it and they understand it. We have to take that on faith. I don't think that's too much to ask. I don't. That
and
could
number
be fixed
11
by
could theoretically be fixed by just saying,
Financial.
if that's truly what
Well,
That's what it's trying to address.
they're
yeah,
trying to.
the thing about that, you pointed out page 9, page 9 sort of discloses that you as the person that have some particular interest, not a third party interest, which can be very different also.
That's a key point.
Yeah.
to Keep in mind.
I mean, I think there's a lot of good, it's very good. I really liked it, so.
I think Zach did a very good job.
Yeah,
I agree.
on that. And I think with your permission, we'll just we'll make those little tweaks and we'll bring that back to you for a formal vote now that we know that exactly what we want. This would be good. Excellent.
great,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right, that's good. Good
Right.
discussion.
Okay, item H, review and discussion proposal from GF Johnson and Associates to conduct a feasibility study for the purpose of increasing the number of reliable water sources for fire protection use in the area known as Ponds End.
Yes, so it was a little over a year, I guess, that probably a few concerned citizens wanted to they wanted to see additional water sources located in the area of Bryn Mawr, Somerville, for fighting purposes. And I think it was consensus of the board at that time that they would pursue it, asked me to get a proposal. Johnson Associates has provided that proposal. And so there's a couple of things I need guidance on. Do you want to pursue this? And if so, is the board willing to waive the purchase policy requirements? Expedite this, or we want to solicit bring everything back to the board. As far as funding goes, I think if the finance director is okay with this, we have sufficient funds in our fire pond and dry headed reserve to fund at least the feasibility study.
Yeah, I'd like to proceed with this.
Can I, I'm just trying to remember, because it was November 21, I thought that we had, after the fairly lengthy discussion about this, that we were going to look townwide at the various places where we had dry hydrants and not just the one that was brought up as a concern. Am I wrong in remembering it that way? Or?
No, that's,
Yeah, excuse me, I think that was talked about. It was even talked about aging the water district too.
Yeah.
Mentioned that one time too. So I guess, again, some direction. I don't know how far you want to pursue this. Do we want to localize it to the immediate needs of the Pretty Mawr Somerville area and expand from there? Or do we want to take a big bite out of this? It's good to slow the process down.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of split on that. I think we need to be able to offer it townwide. Eventually.
As much as possible, yeah.
But I think that for now, maybe Ponds End would be a focus.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
And in your professional opinion, I know it's hard to get bids and stuff like that right now. It could very well be that you postpone this, put it out for bid, you don't get any more bids.
That could be the case, yeah. And realistically, it took over a year to get this.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
you know, we're,
No,
But I think we're all concerned townwide as well. So my sense is that we want to get going on this feasibility study, but we also would like you to be thinking townwide for the future. Is that right?
yeah,
I know you've had a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah, a few other things.
Guidance, are we talking about public water supply, or are we talking about water treatment plants, water districts, or?
I mean, can you just be as specific as fire and
Yeah.
emergency services? Because that seems to be
That's what we were, yeah.
this particular concern was making sure that there's ample water supply if there is that need. And I don't know, I think that's sort of
Yeah,
what I think people would be more concerned with on a town-wide, because most people, I would assume, have looked into those other things before they moved in.
So we're
Their
like water
insurance company.
Yeah, well, this is the initial concern was fire.
Right,
yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all, yeah.
So yeah, the rest of that's a Pandora's box. We don't.
Yeah, no. Just to make sure, to find out what we have, I mean, how far and what kind of access people have to fire suppression water, whether, where it is and how to get it. And
and I'm sure
see if we can.
you
improve
guys
it.
must have plans in place for certain areas.
We do, we've identified some places where there isn't no dry hydrants and you can access the water, most of the time of the year, sometimes it can freeze over. We do have some dry hydrants located in and around town too, as well, so we know where those are. And we can certainly expand on that, I think that would be more, like I said, I think a long range study.
Yeah, absolutely.
Focus the immediate needs on this right now,
yeah.
Good.
Yep, I agree.
thank you.
So do we need a motion to waive that
Yeah.
bid? I would move that we allow Chief Bender to bypass the solicitation of bids and move forward with this.
Second,
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. New business, item A, authorize small animal clinic contract for 2023.
Pretty much the same as it always is.
Pretty much.
I have to move authorization.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor? Item B, authorization to pay for replacement of Northeast Harbor mooring floats, top and bottom chains by Alba Barge Service for $2,434.50. The Northeast Harbor mooring floats CIP 6410100-24681 has a balance of $351,754.13.
Move authorization.
second,
All in favor? Item C, consideration of Highway Superintendent Ben Jacobs' request to lease a new model year 2023 loader backhoe for a sum of $121,400 after receiving $31,000 for the trade of our 2015 case loader backhoe from Beauregard Equipment.
I have a question. I don't know whether it's for Ben or for Jake, but is it, help me understand why leasing a piece of equipment is better for the town than purchasing it through the CIP process or whatever.
Probably 8 year.
Jake's here.
I think the first kind of obvious one would be that it's in line with the appropriation practice. So there is a funded line for leasing backhoes, leasing sweepers and such. And so because those funds are readily available, and it also spreads from a future value perspective, it spreads out the impact of that purchase over the life, essentially over the useful life, as opposed to incurring the entire cost at once. So there are definitely benefits to leases in general. that is kind of the direction that a lot of organizations are moving because of the various benefits that you get from leasing. And then at the end of it, there's a bargain purchase agreement in most of these that allow us to purchase it for $1. And then, it becomes used until it's no longer usable. And so to answer your question, there's plenty of reasons. And that's kind of why we've historically done it with this class of assets.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jake. Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second.
Not yet.
No.
So, move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, item D, consideration of Highway Superintendent Ben Jacobs' request to finance the 2023 loader backhoe. The release agreement from Gorham Savings Bank at a 5-year term at a fixed interest rate of 4.57% for annual payments of approximately $26,496.96, with terms as detailed in the January 12, 2023 memo to Town Manager Darrell Lund. 50% of the annual lease payment to be made from the Public Works Equipment Reserve Account 4050100-24500 with a current balance of $94,915.28, and the remaining 50% of lease payment would be made from the Highway's annual appropriations lease backhoe budget line 1550100555312.
Move approval.
Second,
All in favor?
Can I ask,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I guess the question that I have is that 4.57% that we're paying to this bank to finance this lease, we're receiving the value of that and the services based on having a lease rather than a purchase. Is that sort of what we're trying to make the argument of? Because I just don't understand why we're paying a bank interest to borrow money for the town to purchase, to basically, get a piece of equipment.
Yeah, what I can say about that is that I think that's kind of a structural shift that we can make through the CIP process, but this is responsive to the investments that have been made thus far and the appropriations that have been made thus far. And so if we wanted to shift in these classifications of equipment to purchasing as opposed to leasing, I think that we would have to be proactive going forward in the CIP process to invest more so that we could get rid of the appropriation side and just purchase equipment outright.
Okay, thank you. I'd just be remiss if I didn't ask.
Absolutely.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Oh, can I add one quick thing on that? In terms of the actual percentage that's being incurred there, it's actually fairly comparable to what our reserves are bringing in interest, in net interest and dividends, due to the shift in towards like fixed income models like treasury bonds and such, which are in that 4.5% range. And so in that regard, we are utilizing assets that are not stagnant to fund a lot of this. And so in that regard, the future value and the time value of money arguments become stronger when you consider that asset allocation.
Thank you. That helped.
Makes sense.
That makes more sense to me.
Thank Jake. Yeah, we already voted on that, right?
Yes, we did.
Good. Okay, item E, consideration to authorize Highway Superintendent Ben Jacobs to execute all documents on behalf of the town to facilitate the purchase and execute the lease in accordance with the terms described in new business items C and D.
Move authorization.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Item F, request authorization for the fire chief to sign and execute a contract with Maine Maritime Academy to provide the fire department's breathing air cascade compressor vehicle along with an operator in support of their student fire training program at the Ellsworth Fire Training Center.
Move authorization.
second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Mhm. Item G, MDI Historical Society request for additional funding to paint the Soamesville Bridge and Museum at a cost of $13,000.
Rainey's here.
Aye.
Can I say something?
You can.
Okay. Thank you. So we usually put in a request as a third party relationship to the town. And we've been stagnant at $2,500, which supports porta potties and the Wi-Fi there at the Somerville campus. But I think what I'm discovering is that most people don't realize the MBI Historical Society has sole responsibility financially, insurance, and we own the property in Somerville. And so we maintain everything, we pay for all of the access, we make sure that it's free. So when we have an expense like painting the bridge and the building, that falls outside of our ability to cover it. And so we were hoping for a one-time special authorization to be able to support painting the bridge and the main building. We have also found that the sills on the eastern windows of the museum building are rotting out, but we are not asking the town to pay for that. The Historical Society will cover those expenses because we are not sure what those will be once the carpenters get into it. But we did want to try to get the support for the painting of the building and the bridge.
When's your schedule to actually do that bridge?
It depends on if we get money. So it's not within the capacity of the society to manage. So we, the income, we keep the campus open for free year round. And then the last couple of years, we've had incidents on the campus that have required us to invest in 24-hour security through cameras that are being monitored. Plus, we've had to engage the services of a lawyer for unauthorized use on the site to be able to respond to the situation that took place there. And then with the increase of all the other expenses, the donations that we ask for people when they attend the site are no longer meeting the costs for us to maintain it. So at other times we have gotten support from the town to paint the bridge, and then otherwise we have to go for grants. And so those are historic preservation grants or grants through the King Foundation. In the past have funded things like this, but we would apply for those if we didn't receive support from the town.
So is it my understanding that you want to bypass the third party request because you would want to actually paint the bridge prior to the July 1st release or July 15th or so release of funds, so that you wouldn't be painting it during the time of visitation?
That would be ideal.
I'm just trying to wrap my hands around why the third party request doesn't work, and that was the one I did come up with.
So I mean, I can just speak, and Rainey reached out to Jeff, and then I had a great little chat with her too, and I just suggested if we're gonna go the third party request, that she might come to a meeting and just let us know that, you know, that's a pretty big increase and why, and give us some time to wrap our head around it, rather than do the 90-second, you know, little presentation that we ask for. You know, just to give us more information.
So you're coming back at the third party request as well?
So I had planned on
You're just a
continuing.
preview?
No, I had planned on continuing to ask for the 2,500 that covers the porta potties and the Wi-Fi, because that expense is consistent. We're not going to be able to not offer those services anymore. But the painting of the facility is a different one-time exceptional thing. And so, yeah, under the guidance with Wendy and Jeff, they suggested this might be a way to go about addressing both of those needs for the society.
So is the 13,000 the total cost of the painting?
Yeah, it's actually 12,280. And that's from Welsh Painting.
And they're local, for people that don't know, I mean,
Yeah,
she
no,
did
I
go
know
to a
that,
local, I thought that was nice too, you know, and I just, you know, you know, we drive by that bridge. I truly did not know that they were 100% financially responsible for that whole property and everything. And it opened my eyes a little bit that, you know, wow, if that bridge is peeling and falling apart, when I go to the Portland doctor's office and the picture that's in the doctor's office is that bridge, it's.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I learned a lot in our meeting too about the property in general, and that I did not know. And just as a pitch for my own, I mean, we went 10 years ago when I was getting married, I called the Historical Society to ask if we could use the back lawn behind the museum. And they said, well, you'd have to be a member. I said, well, what do I have to do to be a member? He said, well, send a check for $35. I think I can do that. So we have, there's my picture on my phone is of my wife and I on that bridge. So I had no idea that I thought it was, I didn't ever think who owns that bridge, whose bridge is it?
Right.
But I also thought it was hundreds of years old, which it isn't, but no,
It's
that's a
not
different
historic.
conversation.
But it is the most photographed place on the
It is.
and maybe in the state of Maine. And so it is a financial
It
obligation.
needs to be
to
cared
take
for.
seriously, but we're
Yeah.
not able to care for it by totally by ourselves. Yeah.
No.
So would we like ask Jake in the next month? I mean, is there a certain line item that money could come out of? Would it, what would be your suggestion moving forward? Would we try to incorporate that as a third-party request and have it be a $15,500 third-party request for this year, or?
I don't think that would work, because in various years we've gone to organizations such as the Pretty Marsh.
Yeah, we did that.
Yes,
a couple
one
years ago,
year.
right. Paid the porch.
Yeah, we
Deck
did,
or whatever.
and then we did
Right.
one at the Aid Society, then we do the roof, maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah,
So I mean, there is a precedent for going outside the boundaries of your
For a
normal
particular-
request.
Yeah.
Okay.
To do that, because these are special circumstances and one-time, capital improvements that you need to do. So I think you could easily fit that into your third-party request form, should you so choose.
But I also think it was wise to have an opportunity to stand up there instead of being one of 40 people we were trying to go through.
Yeah.
Check out what in the world is this? 12,000 more? 13? Yeah.
And with that being said, so to try to have this done theoretically before July 15th, when there's people on the bridge, is there another way?
Jake, I'm gonna leave that to the money man.
I don't,
Frank, it
I don't-
might be open up a lot of.
Yeah, that's what
parties
it-
Are gonna want to come early and things, so it's not clean in my judgment.
Okay.
but, That's up to you.
That
though.
makes sense.
We've done a lot of things that aren't necessarily clean.
yeah,
Is that what you suggest, Jake, is have this be part of their third-party request as a one-time extra?
the absolute cleanest way to do it would be to, increase the coming third-party request. That's, absolutely in line with past precedent, and it would be clear that it was appropriated the whole 9 yards. That being said, I don't have an answer right now for creative funding solutions, but if that's something that you really want me to pursue, I can take a look and come back to you. But if you're looking for the cleanest way, that this is one of those that the timing may not be exactly what everyone wants, but governments move slowly and they have time constraints.
No, and I think they're probably willing to work with whatever solution we have. I just felt that it would be good to plan sooner rather than later. So I appreciate the information, and it will make a third-party request increase easier at that time.
Now you're all prepared for it, you won't be surprised.
Yeah, well, we have a reserve for replacement account. If we knew the funds were approved, we can do that knowing.
Oh, there you go.
That would replenish the
Yeah.
account.
And you know
Right.
when you get the money,
Right.
usually the second one in July is when we generally do that. The latest would be the first one in August, but I think it's usually mid-July is then what we shoot for, because generally our tax collections are sufficient at that point in time, so that we don't have to. I can see Jake is grimacing, because every time I talk finance, he gets this funny look on his face.
It's been August since I got here, and August from the recent looks that I looked at the past, but yeah, first warrant of August is what we've been doing since I've gotten here.
But you will know for certain that you're going to receive that money as of town meeting.
Yeah,
And so if you have accounts that you're not comfortable depleting until you have a promise from the town, then that would be at the town meeting.
yeah, which is perfect.
Then, because then you can go ahead, if you have, cash on hand that will be replaced, it'll be replaced.
Yeah.
Just might not be as early as Derwin's trying to tell you.
That's fine.
Well, and after that date, also you'll be able to commit firmly with
Right,
Welch Paintings
exactly.
Yeah,
to secure them, other than, having
Sure.
July come around and Like, oh my God, he's off working somewhere else now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
See, Rainey, what you've been hit with is the good cop, bad cop.
No,
I like to be the good.
I'm just really grateful for the support. I mean, it means a lot to our small society, so thank you.
Go
I
ahead.
have a question. So this is all lovely in this room, but what happens when we get to town meeting and the folks on town meeting floor say, oh my gosh, that's not the town's property. That property belongs to the museum. Why am I gonna support the museum and this allocation gets voted down? Then where do we go?
Well, there are clearly no guarantees.
For any third party.
For anything.
And I just, I think we all here are very excited and very positive, but I think the reality is it could not happen.
Well, that's why I suggested that she won't know for sure that she'll be getting the money until after the town meeting.
It makes it hard to maintain equipment though, doesn't it?
Well, and I think in the past, there's been changes to those third-party requests at town meeting, either up or down. There's been certain times when someone might have, the warrant committee and the select board recommended this, and someone stands up and fights,
I don't
you are.
agree, but I just.
Well,
Hate to
listen.
be Debbie Downer, but there I am.
Isn't actually the motion on the floor is for the total amount?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the third-party requests, I think the motion on the floor is a total amount, but they have,
They do have the list.
yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the town has a record. I mean, we're gonna use the track record, but the town has got at least half a dozen of these of working on buildings that they don't own, such as the Pretty Marsh Historical, US Community Center, the Otter Creek Aid Society. I think we did some on the nursery school.
The nursery school, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's plenty, there's no guarantees in this world. But there's possibilities of being voted down, but there's a probability of it passing based on past history, so.
And I think communication earlier rather than later is ideal.
And we have discussed, maybe not this year, because we're still working through some of the changes that were suggested to us by the ad hoc committee to discuss third-party requests. But it may be that we want to cap the total number, the total amount that we're going to be giving this year. So, that may happen too.
Yeah.
Many things may happen. And you parallel the scores, we understand.
So I would say thank you, and we will take that under good consideration, and the information alone, just to, educate people that, who knew, who took care of that bridge that everybody, I knew. Did you know? I did not know.
All right.
Budgets.
Okay, review item H, review of fiscal year 2024 budgets, Public Works and Marina.
And did you notice we have a new public works director?
Yes, we do.
Because he didn't work on this budget, so.
Did you start today? Welcome
wow.
aboard.
Congratulations.
All right.
So, I don't know who's gonna answer the question, but I'm assuming that some of the significant adjustments in salaries has to do with the new structure of our.
No,
No.
actually, well, there's only 3 members of the public works that are currently would be covered by that, because the others are covered by collective bargaining. And they're
Okay.
going into the last year. So you, to a certain extent, you're correct, but there will be only 3, that'd be the public works director, the highway superintendent, and the wastewater superintendent. The other, the ones that will be covered under the longevity. The non-union will not for next year, because this will be the last year of their own collective bargaining agreement.
Okay,
We
because
just,
the highway superintendent
What's that?
got a significant.
Didn't
Yeah, the teacher's salary.
2 years, yeah. What we do is start next May. I'd have to do that again.
So that like on page 3, the top 3 lines, the chief operator, the lab tech and the assistant operator. Those are not part of that. They're part of the
Those
collective
are
bargaining.
collective bargaining positions.
And so what, I guess, why is the chief operator going up 11.33%?
You're on the chief operators, actually, me.
Okay, that's. My apologies, that's right.
Okay,
Ben, well, let's use names, Ed, Ben, and Brian are three positions.
okay,
Right,
okay,
okay, now we got it.
all right.
We were using titles differently.
Under office supplies, there's a notation, added spring water to this line, no longer using GRM, but what's GRM? Because it went up by 200%. So will I see a 200% reduction on general repairs and maintenance line item?
There has been a reduction in general repairs and maintenance, but you won't see that.
Thought I had you there. Thank you.
Another thing that I noticed that didn't seem to follow consistently was the increases. I know that fuel oil costs are higher and diesel for machinery is higher, but the percent increase for different departments did not follow any sort of pattern. I didn't induce. I don't really understand why that would be.
Are you talking about like using fuel?
Well, anything that's gonna every department will get hit exactly the same by a heating fuel change, an electricity rate increase, or a
Could be on the amount
diesel
of
fuel.
gallons being purchased too. I mean, I was not privy to the development, and it was Mr. Smith actually working with you guys. I think, so.
Well, I understand that they're gonna have different costs, but their percent increase, I guess I didn't understand why those would be different. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Like one department,
one
the
department
heating oil
uses-
didn't go up at all, and then another department, they put 15% increase in the heating oil.
And I mean, in the wastewater operations, they didn't put electricity at 115,000 with 0% increase, and I find it, I mean, electricity rates are through the roof and going fast up. I'm just trying to make sense of some of these utility costs that we can try to reduce our use, but not significantly, so that we're mostly beholden to the rates that we're being charged.
The rate increase was pretty significant last year for electricity. And tracking what we've spent so far with this new budget, it wasn't really on par with what first person had said we were gonna see.
Okay,
So I didn't see any need to increase the electricity.
Problem is too, Jeff, is these budgets are committed 18 months before they're spent, so there's a lot of variables that can throw in there. This is reading tea leaves, basically.
that's fair. I'm not trying to challenge it. I mean, I know that some of this is sort of a game of fitting things in the puzzle. But it's just, vehicle fuel in the, for the Otter Creek folks, went up 21%. Well, which is probably not unreasonable considering the cost of diesel fuel, but some of the other ones, vehicle fuel went up 32.5% for the waste management. Are they somehow changing their driving habits this year? I mean, that's the part that I'd like to try to wrap my head around.
Oh, go ahead. I'm still looking at that. I agree with you.
Some of it's just looking at, past history on what we spend and, so maybe that's kind of confusing things like, I know like heating oil's up this year, but if we didn't, if the budget was, we didn't spend a lot last year, I guess, I didn't feel the need to up it again, I just kept it close.
I looked at, the gallons that we used for the past 3 or 4 years, with a mild winter. And then the new price, I just did the calculations out and didn't really see where we needed to ask for any more because we didn't expend, all of what we had asked for in the past. So, we might be getting closer to the 90th percentile or, instead of the 50th, and not have as much left over, but I
That
didn't
makes
see that we
sense.
needed to increase it.
I have a question at the wastewater operations in Northeast Harbor, which I have a special interest in. The pH control went way up. What was that the cost of the chemicals? I remember Tony saying something about that or what?
Yeah, actually, all the chemicals went up, and I think in one of my past memos, I wrote about that.
Yes,
We use the same chemical company for the last 6 years. They never increased our prices. And it was something on their end in their software. And then in August, they came to us and said, hey, we didn't raise your prices over the last 6 years annually. So you're gonna get hit with a big increase.
also,
So things, one chemical was 28%, another one was like 50, which was the
Yeah.
toxic, or the pH control.
I see.
And we've had up to, we use bleach for disinfectant, and that went up 76%. And with the rain, because everything's
Right.
flow based, and the more we put through the plant, the more chemicals we're gonna use.
Thank you.
But you gotta chlorinate it to disinfect it and then dechlorinate it to make it palatable.
Right.
Well, I didn't say palatable.
Well, whatever, okay,
I know.
potable. Yeah, 'cause I was thinking we could just make that a wash and just spend $2,000. Okay.
Yeah, weather plays a big part in this too, I've learned.
Sure.
If it's cold, it's different than if it's raining.
Well, and over the coming few years, if we do what we should be doing, we're gonna be changing some of the heating dynamics of some places and it'll be more difficult to. Yes.
Overall, though, the increase is not extreme.
No,
No, it's
no.
realistic.
Yeah.
When you think about supplies and electricity and heating oil alone.
And chemical?
Yeah. So I appreciate that you took a close look and cut where you thought you could cut and.
Right, I mean, definitely don't wanna, try to fiscally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody does in our area. I think your
Yeah.
people do a pretty good job at being realistic. With Jake at the helm.
And one last, the highway question for we have sort of a fixed amount that we budget for paving and then we decide what projects get attention based on that. So, okay,
Yes, the paving will be up, so that there'll be.
fewer pavement jobs, but we'll spend the same amount of money.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. Thank you.
More comments? Yeah,
Oh, do
so
we?
we're ready to move on to marinas.
Oh, I don't.
It's in our book too.
I didn't, I guess I just.
I mean, it's in this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward.
Up for a 75% increase in overtime.
Your eyes work better than mine.
I don't know what the anticipated overtime is, so
That's it. Weird.
75% increase.
I think a big increase. John's right there and.
Yeah, the
he can
overtime.
Shed some light on it.
Yeah,
You're talking overtime?
yeah. I just don't know what's changed in
Right,
the management because they now have an office manager full-time
right.
and
like-
and all that, but overtime jumped a 75% increase. I just want to know why.
Yeah.
So, over the past years, I had an employee that was a year-round employee that did not take overtime. He always turned everything to comp. Now I have 2 employees that when they work overtime, they want the money. They're young and they've got families and, you know, they appreciate the extra money. And also I'm having to use more overtime to cover summertime shifts because of the lack of people wanting to work.
Gotcha.
And it's only a $2,000 increase. You know, I know it
Mhm.
looks big when you see the 75% number, but
Okay, yeah,
Thank you, John.
yeah, I didn't see anything else in here at all. I mean, it was pretty flat.
Yeah, it is pretty flat.
You want to ask us questions?
no, I appreciate you guys and, you know, the marina's doing well. We've continued to grow financially every year and, you know, we're covering our bills and putting away money for, you know, projects that are coming up and the reservations for next summer are double what I saw last year. So, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Great,
It's great.
all right.
keep up the good work.
Are we gonna have a new pier dock thing before summer?
Yes, the ramp for that is already built and ready to go on. We're just waiting on some granite as the holdup through freshwater stone.
Okay,
I think they took a big project for the Statue of Liberty and we got pushed back.
oh, wow.
Oh, come on.
Yes, we do.
First things first.
Take that.
All right, so
He's spelling out a whole quote.
any further comments on the budgets? All right, we'll move on to other business. Any other business?
Is that addendum?
Oh, yeah, right. The addendum.
So the addendum was the
Insurance.
little magazines that we get? Is that,
No.
oh,
No,
This
no,
was
the hockey rink.
the hockey rink.
oh, 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 oh.
I forgot
Skating
about
rink,
that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did that.
I saw, yeah.
Well, if we ever get in
Something
cold
about
weather.
insurance. They want to modify, we have to modify. Let's see what we got.
Was it an email?
Yes,
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't-
2 emails actually.
I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Friday.
The
Oh,
addendum was that the CDC requested that up to 2,000, which is actually could be a little less of that gift that they gave us, we used to pay for that liability insurance.
Oh, okay,
So they wanted to, because they,
Yeah.
the way that the gift was accepted
right,
did not allow that, so they wanted that to be
Yeah.
amended to
that
do
makes
that.
sense.
So you have to just vote to amend that and then
I'll move,
take care
I'll
of
move to amend.
One, is it? I can't see, $1,700,
Yeah,
$63.36.
And they shopped around, that was the best
Yeah,
deal they could
Yeah,
get,
that was
yeah,
the best. They did about 6 or 8 different
yeah,
places to
Yeah.
look.
yeah, it's just a,
Yeah.
it's fine,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I got a motion,
Second.
all in favor?
Done?
Awesome.
The only other thing, I just for my own clarification, with our new public works director on staff, is there still a need to keep a consultant? What's the time frame on that or?
Brian and Tony are working to come up with a schedule. They've set up a time. Do you want to comment at all on that, Brian?
Sure. Yeah, Tony and I are anticipating that it will just be a few weeks, that the warrants that have been involved, kind of the driver in that and ensure that it's a smooth transition to understand warrants and kind of get my feet under me. In the position, but I'm not expecting and Tony's not expecting more. He's not wanting it to go on for very long. I don't.
Okay, good. Thank you. I mean. Not good, good, whatever. Thank you.
All right. No other business. Then,
Yeah, you still have items B, C, and D.
What?
Treasurer warrants under the
Oh, yeah.
addendum.
Oh, yeah.
The warrants.
Warrants.
What was the book, electronic delivery magazine, was that an option?
No, it's an option, but I misunderstood it's not due until February. I thought it was due in January.
This addendum. So A was the 7,000, that's the
Okay.
donation, and then we have,
All right, so we,
Here.
yeah, leave that. Okay.
oh,
Here you go.
Yeah, that first warrant is the actual payment for that insurance in line with
All right.
the approval that you just gave.
okay,
Okay, why don't we just get through this then? Okay, approve and sign treasurer's warrant as shown, AP 2347 in the amount of $1,763.36.
Move approval.
approval,
Second,
State fees and payroll benefits, PR 2316 in the amount of okay, this is a negative $383.48.
Yep, that was avoided. It washed out with a different payroll, and it was supposed to be included with the warrants that are on the main agenda, but it didn't get added. And when we did the addendum, we thought just throw it in there to.
All right,
get it accepted.
okay,
move approval.
Second.
all in favor? Great, thank you.
I'll abstain from the payroll one, I don't know, or whatever you want. me to
Yeah, it
do.
says you need to abstain.
All right,
But I
moving
approve
on
the other.
to the treasurer's warrants. Town invoices. AP 2346 in the amount of $694,000, $694,597.34.
Move approval and signature.
Second,
All in favor? Approve sign treasurer's payroll, state fees and payroll benefits, AP 2344, AP 2345, and town payroll PR 2315 in the amount of $189,538.40.
move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
One abstention, please.
And acknowledgements of the town void disbursements and school boards AP payroll warrants. School invoice AP 7, school payroll PR 14, and voided disbursements B 2307 for a net total of $247.11.
Move approval and signature. Oh, no, move acknowledgement.
Second.
All in favor?
Always get that.
Linked across.
I saw it.
Great. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Sorry. Been a long day.
Try- try-
Okay.
first wave.
Indeed, this is-
Two hours.